from the Unreasonable Doubt Studios, in association with Feitner Productions, this is Laying Down the Law! With your host, Billy DeClercq, and co-hosts, Kristen Drenning and Curtis Rutherford. Featuring a jury of genius jokesmiths and paneled with the help of Publishers Clearinghouse, auditors from the firm of DCH Lottery Management, and selected by random draw from a hermetically sealed mayonnaise jar every Tuesday and Thursday at never. Only a madman would bring these people together to construct an entire virtual world of law and order, simply to tear it asunder with ruckus laughter. That madman is attorney Billy DeClercq. The result is a podcast blasted to the farthest reaches of the interwebs. That podcast is this one, and it starts right now.
Welcome to Laying Down the Law, a comedy podcast hosted by me, the Rocky Road Shenandoah of the courtroom, Billy DeClercq.
And I'm co-host Kristen Drenning, actual lawyer, storyteller, shepherder of fledgling improv babies, and now a recruiter to the podcast guests. Speaking of which, let's meet our guests. Today we are pleased to welcome back to the show my hilarious friend, Kelly Johnson.
Hey, Kelly.
Yay!
Welcome back.
Happy to be back.
Is the baby in college yet?
God, I wish.
And I'm excited to bring a new guest today, one of my teachers from the Pack Theater in Los Angeles, Hollywood, California, a hilarious and successful comedy writer, actor, and professor of amusement, Mr. Dwayne Colbert.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love that professor of amusement. I wish that was a real thing. Oh, so bad.
I could teach it at Hilarity University.
Yeah.
Well, not to be outdone, Billy, I've brought in as an addition to your replacement, or if you want to keep this show going occasionally, you want to have him back all the time. He is, wait for it, an actual lawyer. He hails from the LA area, and he's truly one of the best improvisers I know. Please welcome to the show for the first time. His name is Andy Morrison, Esquire, improviser at law.
Hello.
Hey, Andy, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm really excited. And if you want to take over, I would love it. I was working on the outline and I just thought maybe someone else could write this outline and do the preparation work. I mean, look, Dwayne won an Emmy and Kelly's actually brought another human into the world, but fine. You're a lawyer. Great. Super. Wonderful.
I would not compare a trinket to bringing another human in, but you do you.
I'm seriously thrilled to have all of you on the show today. Before we get into our case of the week, I have a recorded message for our guests.
Hey everyone, it's your president, Joe Biden. It's great to be here on my favorite podcast, America's best law and comedy show, Laying Down the Law. Folks, I know malarkey, but these legal clowns are no dog-faced pony soldiers. If they work hard, like my dad, they might get a 1967 Corvette complete with classified documents and Hunter's laptop in the trunk, like mine. Those are jokes, people, jokes. Laughter is the soul of America, and these kids get it. So let's unite. Turn up the volume on your FM radio and listen to attorney Billy DeClercq and his gang of comics on Laying Down the Law.
Oh my gosh.
I am very proud of that.
That was special. That was special.
I got chills at dog-faced pony soldiers. So.
I mean, Hunter's laptop.
Well, I learned from Dwayne that comedy needs to be specific. So,
Also, I mean, you don't have to reveal your magic, but how do you do that?
Well, I will tell you. I will tell you how I do it. It's not my magic.
Is there like some legality? It's like, can we just get people to say whatever we want?
Chatbot type thing.
This is like that.
Generated.
It's like that 30 Rock thing with the Seinfeld vision where they just have all the like, are we allowed to do this?
Yeah, it's a deep fake. I created a deep fake of Joe Biden. I was using as my assistant for script writing. I used ChatGPT. And there's a website called 11.com where you can take a vocal print of anyone, create an auditory model. It takes some tinkering to make it sound realistic, and then
that was pretty good.
United States Marine Corps band and I put it together in audition. That's my contribution to
if you like just disappear after this, like I'm not
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you, I'm also posting this on Discord, along with some additional classified documents. It should be fine. Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you all were interested in playing along. Now it is time for the case of the week. This week's case of the week hails from the great state of Texas. That's right. Don't mess with them, right?
That's right. That's exactly the motto.
That is the motto. I think that had to do with litter removal, but it kind of evolved. This is from 1893, and this is a case taught in the remedies course. Andy will remember remedies. Remedies, remedies are the things you get. The reason you file a lawsuit is to get the remedy. So the most common remedy would be money damages, but then you figure out, well, how do you calculate it? And so there's a whole law school course on the different types of remedies. And this is a case that has to do with the difference between general or direct damages and consequential damages. The case is called Buck versus Morrow from 1893 in Texas. Any questions before I give you the facts?
No, I was going to say some Texas-related things, and I said, nope.
No Texas-related things. I know I'm trying to build my audience.
Right,
already,
after you alienated all of this.
I've already alienated Florida.
The Federalist
and I've
Society.
lost Latvia based upon that one incident, where I made the comment. And so just trying to hang on to different geographical groups. So if you're listening in Texas, I hope you saddle up your wagon and give it a good listen.
You just lost Texas.
Yeah.
There they went.
There they go.
Right there, you lost Texas.
Wagons, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So one H.C. Morrow, landlord, leased to one A.C. Buck, hence the case Morrow versus Buck, a pasture in Wise County, Texas, for a term of 5 years, a 5-year lease, which started on the first day of May, 1886. The rental rate was $125 a year. Now, every time I say a money amount in a prior year, somebody says, well, how much is that today? So I actually researched, which I never do, because I knew Curtis wouldn't be here to figure it out.
So this is smart ass rule. This is just for the smarmy little.
Yeah. Curtis, when he's here, he's an SAT tutor, among other things. And so he'll always just tell me the math and I don't have to think, but he's not here. So I did it. $1 in 1886 is now $32. So it was around $4,000 a year, which is still a steal.
Doesn't seem bad at all.
I know, for a pasture.
You have to remember that this time in Texas, it was like basically just desolate. There was like very little going on. So
yeah, it's not that way anymore. I understand.
No, now we've filled it up with brim to brim cowboys everywhere you look.
It's not just the cowboys, it's the hats, right?
The hats also.
A little extra room. So the contract said that after the second year, if the landlord, Morrow, decided to sell the land, he would compensate Buck, his tenant, for any and all losses occasioned by the sale. That was their contract. And they knew at the time that Buck was using the land to graze his cattle. After 2 years, Morrow did sell the land, and Buck was dispossessed. He no longer was allowed to use the land. The issue that was presented in the case, the trial court case, was that Buck, the lessee, wanted to offer evidence of his damages. The contract said he would get whatever losses were occasioned by the sale. Buck wanted to offer evidence from one J.L. Campbell, who was helped him with the herd, not like the ear, with the herd of cattle, that at the time he lost a property, he had 140 head of cattle, and that Campbell was in charge of the cattle, that they had looked diligently for another pasture for the cattle, but they couldn't find one. And so once they got kicked off the pasture, they were on the commons, just public land running free, and they were at large on the range for 5 months before they could get another pasture. It's a little hard to imagine for me, but I'm trying to picture, like, I'm thinking, since I'm in California, I'm thinking of, when you drive up I-5 and there's just nothing.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. Bakersfield.
Bakersfield's a city.
It's like the Texas of
It really is. Yeah.
Bakersfield has
Just
high-speed rail.
do they?
Well, I mean, they're gonna.
No, they aren't.
I would say the cattle farmers are really anti that. There's a lot of signs on the 5 and the 99 that are like, not in my yard.
Right. It's going to be a railroad check right through those signs.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about Bakersfield lately because I was reading these stories about Lake Tulare coming up and like all this, basically farmland turning into a lake. And all the signs I've seen driving up and down the I-5 about more dam storage and, where water flows, food grows. And I'm like, you asked for it, you got it. There's plenty of water now. Of course, I don't know how long it's going to stay, but at any rate, so the head of cattle are wandering about home on the range. And during that time, they had to hire another cowhand to keep them rounded up, and the cowhand charged $1.50 a day, which would be $32 times 1.5 would be 16. So that would be about $48 a day, which is somewhat lower than minimum wage. But that was considered a reasonable charge. So he had incurred this additional cost for another cowhand for 5 months, and they did everything they could. They were reasonably diligent to keep those cattle from straying, but when they're on the range, the cattle do tend to go where they go. They lost 15 heads of cattle, each of them worth about $15 a head. And they diligently searched, but they could not find the cattle.
This is starting to feel like the SATs. I feel like there's like a math problem at the end.
It's like a math problem.
Do we get a steak at the end? Is that what happens?
Yeah, exactly.
How many cows are left and how much is it worth and what's the inflation?
And at what rate of speed is the train traveling through Bakersfield?
The high-speed rail.
That's right. And then they also offered evidence of the cost of putting the cattle in another pasture. Well, guess what? You don't have to answer that SAT question because the judge said none of that evidence would be allowed to be heard by the jury.
Oh, thank God.
The jury didn't get to hear a word of it. The judge said no.
That's harsh.
He said, this is not a math class. We will not be hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
We're lawyers, not mathematicians. We're
That's
just going to
right.
eyeball this.
That is probably exactly what the judge was thinking.
I'm sure he's like, this is hard. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Oh,
you just lost Texas
you
again.
just
So it was excluded. That evidence was excluded. So the jury never heard any of that evidence because the judge ruled that it was immaterial. It was not relevant. The reason was the judge said that the damages were provided for in the contract. If you remember, I said close to the beginning that the contract said that if Morrow sold the land, Buck would get losses occasioned by the sale. And so the judge reasoned that the losses were the cost of finding a new pasture. So all this other stuff about hiring another cowhand and losing cattle and all these other expenses while the cattle were roaming the land was not admissible evidence because it didn't go to the contract. That was too far. Those were consequential damages. And so they said the measure of damages that are available to Buck, if the jury ruled in favor of Buck, is the difference between the contract price, $125 a year, and the rental value of the pasture for the rest of the lease. So basically the benefit of the bargain. So let's say his lease rate was $125 a year and it was really worth $150 a year. He would get that difference. Those were his losses because the court was applying the benefit of the bargain that Buck had bargained to get this land at a certain price. And I guess prices maybe went up. And so he would get that. If it didn't go up, he'd get nothing. So Buck, unhappy with his outcome here, appealed and argued that this testimony pertaining to the consequential damages was excluded in error. Okay. Do we have questions, concerns, thoughts? Need a break?
So far, so good.
We're good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Court of Appeal agreed that the correct rule for damages in a lease situation are the damages that are incidental to the breach of the covenant of quiet enjoyment, your enjoyment in the land, your right to possess the land. So what are the consequential damages? What consequences flow from that? However, the Court of Appeal disagreed about the way to determine those damages and reasoned that in addition to the difference between the rent to be paid and the actual value of the land, the tenant may also recover as quote unquote special damages. These are special damages, whatever extra expense and damages that are the quote natural and proximate result of the breach. So the court is considering essentially that you can have other expenses other than just the value of the land as part of the consequences for the breach.
Immediately in my head, I think of like somebody meticulously setting up a bunch of dominoes leading to like little figurines of plastic cows, and then just like letting them all just like go off, you know what I mean? Until, oops, they knocked over the cows. And that's sort of what I'm envisioning as the natural and proximate rule in action.
Right. And so this is, for those of you who haven't been to law school, this issue of proximate cause, it's a legal phrase that is they're squishy words, they're wiggle words. As one of my law school professors said, with no ambiguity, there's no billable hours, and without any billable hours, there's no money, so learn to love ambiguity. Proximate cause is an ambiguous phrase, which is just how close is too close? How far is too far? What's the natural and proximate close cause that results from the damages? Because if you think about it from a high enough level of generality, everything is caused by everything else, right? Everything relates to everything. If a butterfly flaps his wing in Texas, there's a tornado in Florida or whatever that, what is that?
I think that's
called? Butterfly effect.
Exactly. Yes.
Something like that.
Movie based on that exact.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we got Ashton Kutcher.
That's where he comes from.
Yeah. So that's the idea is that because we can't really figure that out, we don't really know, we just throw it to the jury to figure out, what's reasonable, what's too close, what's too far. And the judges aren't supposed to decide things that are questions of fact. And it's a question of fact, like how proximate is too proximate. And so the idea here was that the jury needed to hear all this other evidence and consider it. Doesn't mean that the jury necessarily had to accept it and decide that it was all the proximate cause, but it was an error to not allow them to hear it and decide whether hiring another cow hand and losing 15 head of cattle while they're, free on the range for 5 months and have to get another pasture, whether all those additional costs should have been the fault of the landlord who kicked the tenant off. So the idea, the original rule, assumes something, and the Court of Appeal goes out of their way to point this out, which is that the rule that the trial judge applied, which is you just lose the value that you gained by the benefit of the bargain, it assumes that a tenant can go out into the market and immediately obtain similar property, which perhaps in Texas in 1886, maybe you could find similar land to graze, to have cattle graze on. But, when you think about things that are fungible, right? Land is considered non-fungible. Every piece of land is unique. It's not like it's does anyone drive a Honda Civic?
No.
Okay. It's not, or a Prius. Anyone drive a Prius? A Prius or a Honda Civic are fungible. If you have one Prius or a Honda Civic's got 25,000 miles on it, it's going to be roughly the same as another same color, same model, same year. They're fungible. It's comparable. You can go out and just get another one because there are many of them. They're all the same. In this case, though, the evidence was that it wasn't fungible. He didn't have the ability to go find another pasture right away. He didn't have there was no pasture land available, and he had to let him go across the wilds of Texas and try and keep them rounded up with no fence.
It's got to be hard to prove that something doesn't exist.
It is.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, like to prove a negative. But also, I feel like there's a lot of unspoken subtext in this case because cattle ranchers have insane rules amongst each other. And to even reach court, must have just involved so much menacing, bullying, stealing of cows. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on that's darker than
I got to say, I was surprised at only 15.
Right. Yeah. They don't even talk about any of the rustling that could have been happening. And a lot of cattle lawyers that, kind of lost their business over the years because it's, not as much cattle law work as there once was.
One of the great shames.
And now it's all crypto.
Yeah.
But so if the court draws a distinction and talks about the idea of other pastures, so they say the expense of finding another pasture may have been correctly excluded because that's the same thing that he lost. So you would be double counting. If you counted the loss of the one pasture that he had, and then you counted the expense he had for a replacement pasture, that's double counting. That's unfairly enriching the defendant. But the other stuff, the extra cow hand, the loss of other cattle because he couldn't find it, and they were diligent, it would have been up to the jury to decide if he was reasonably diligent. So the court says maybe we draw the line there because another pasture is sort of like the one they had there. Now, if you go back a couple of episodes in the podcast, we talk about a replacement cost of, we talked specifically about a landfill, whether two landfills are the same, but you have to listen to that episode if you want to hear about that.
It's a humdinger, and I highly recommend it.
Yes, fully worth every dollar you're going to pay to listen to it, which is nothing.
Is it too much of a spoiler to say landfills are like, no, just kidding.
Well, see, in that case, they got a much better landfill to replace it. Better. There is like the Cadillac of landfills. By the way, that's my nomination for that episode title.
Oh my gosh, that is Cadillac actually really great.
That's a good one.
Yep, nailed it.
But the court says these other effects, if they can show and convince the jury that these are the proximate cause, then he could be potentially able to recover damages for those losses. And so it was a mistake. It was error for the trial court to prevent the jury from hearing that evidence. That's the case. Kind of a short one.
It makes me wonder what this judge thought about the jury, like what he was worried about, like, oh, these yokels are going to just like hand, the kingdom over to this rancher, or alternatively that they were going to, I don't know, like unfairly. I feel like there's a lot of inner town politics going on here that we're
Before I say something, I got to ask Dwayne a question. Dwayne, have you been on a jury?
I was an alternate that I ended up not having any use at all, so I didn't go to full trial. It stopped right before we were about to go. Yeah.
Oh, so you sat through the trial, but you didn't get to deliberate?
We sat through like maybe 2 days, and then that was it. They were like, oh, they worked out a deal.
Okay. Well, Andy's tried cases to a jury, I'm quite sure.
Yes.
It's a complicated thing because you don't know what the jury knows and what they don't know. And so judges and lawyers tend to be anxious about juries, and there's a lot of the entire intent of the rules of evidence is you don't want the jury to hear too much or hear the wrong thing because we're afraid their passions might be inflamed or they might be confused by irrelevant things, legally irrelevant facts. And so there's a lot of gatekeeping. I like to describe it as a type of theater. And I always tell my clients, well, in a trial, you have stuff that's on stage and you have stuff that's off stage. And so we fight a lot about what gets to be on stage, what the jury gets to hear, because a trial is very much a show with 12 very powerful audience members who will either throw nickels at you or throw vegetables at you, depending on what they think.
Is throwing nickels at you a good thing? Because that sounds even meaner to me than throwing vegetables.
Really? I was like, I don't know. Is that torture?
I mean, we're lawyers. We'll take money however we can get it. If it's flying nickels, we're jumping.
I think it would take a lawyer to find that enjoyable.
This was a weird contract, I thought. Like, I think in today's world, landlords usually hold most of the cards. So why would you, was this a very tenant-friendly era? Why would you have to give somebody? Normally it's just like, hey, sorry, sold your lot. Good luck. Have fun. You can't stay here anymore. And also 2 years in, we're 2 years, we're not married. You can this is, so it's kind of weird that I'll pay for any problems you have in the future if I sell that land. Is like, that was very pro rancher. Maybe that's
so I'm wondering who introduced that. That was my thought. Is that like a standard? Is that boilerplate at the time?
Yeah. It's weird because
Well, I will say that if the landlord was thinking that the rule was what the trial court gave him, that's a pretty good deal because, the damages are just the difference in the value. So had the original trial court ruling stood, the landlord's damages would be capped at the difference between $125 a year and whatever the pasture was worth for the rest of that time. And so even with land values going up a little bit, let's say they went up $5 a year or something, his damages would have been for 3 years, $15.
If I might interject, if we interpret this as like broadly, like as you were saying, Andy, that it's very beneficial to the rancher in this way, I think it's the legal backdrop at that time was like very much so encouraging the highest use of the land in Texas. That's why we got like such weird rules of adverse possession, because there were a lot of people buying and selling the land and then not doing anything with it. So the court generally, as a policy thing, wanted like to support people who are actually doing something on the land. And that's probably why those terms were so favorable to the person actually making use of the land rather than the owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, today you probably see, you can see like a right of first refusal, or a right of first offer in a lease, perhaps, that if you're ever going to sell, I get an opportunity to match it. In California, if you have a lease with one landlord and it's purchased by another person, you may not be able to stay in the property depending on the circumstances of the sale. The lease may not be honored. And so, yeah, it depends on whether it's residential or commercial and a bunch of other stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's a really good question. Okay, so I think we have enough time for Comedy Court. What do you think?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to have Comedy Court. And we're back with Comedy Court. This is the case of the missing snow globes.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Company A. What's the name of Company A?
Big Globe.
Big Globe delivered the wrong kind of snow globes to Company B. What's the name of Company B?
Globes Are Us.
Globes Are Us. Big Globe delivered the wrong kind of snow globes to Globes Are Us. After discovering the mistake later in the day, Globes Are Us insisted that Big Globe come pick up the wrong snow globes and deliver the right kind of snow globes. Big Globe refused to pick up the wrong snow globes and said that it couldn't supply the right snow globes because they weren't in stock. Globes Are Us sued for breach of contract, and they won. The question is, what are the damages that Globes Are Us are going to get from Big Globe? Would they be the refund of the amount of money that Globes Are Us had prepaid Big Globe for the snow globes, reimbursement of expenses that Globes Are Us incurred in sending the snow globes back to Big Globe, and or payment for the increase in cost that Globes Are Us incurred in buying the right snow globes from someone else, and or other consequential damages. Other losses incurred by the breach of the contract because of special conditions or circumstances that wouldn't be ordinarily predictable from the wrong snow globes being delivered. So who's going to represent Big Globe and who's going to represent Globes Are Us?
I would like to be Globes Are Us, the winner.
All right. All right, Dwayne.
I am Big
arguing
Globe.
for Big Globes.
I am Big Globe, sure.
Oh, Big Globe, not Big Globes.
Big Globe, yes.
Yeah,
Big Globe.
got it.
I would just like to say that I am a totally unbiased, fair-minded, not Globe at all oriented judge who is also not ChatGPT, marking a huge departure from our previous treatments of these cases in Comedy Court.
All right, I want to add one additional fact now that we've got everything figured out here about the case of the wrong snow globes. Big Globe knew that Globes R Us needed the new snow globes on a particular day because all of its stock of snow globes was going to be taken away the night before. And as a result, Globes R Us had to rent new snow globes until the right order arrived.
It's just like the hits just keep on coming.
This is rough. It's gonna be rough. That's okay. It's all right. Yeah, it's too bad I don't smoke anymore. That's okay.
All right, Judge, go ahead and call the case. I'm going to observe.
All right, well, I'm presiding over this case, which I'll tell you right now, I want no malarkey. I want no shenanigans. I want no globe-related bad behavior. I think we're going to play a nice, clean game here. Now, I want to hear first from the appellant, who I've forgotten which one is the appellant.
I am unsure.
I
As
believe
well
it's
of
Big
that.
Globe. It's Big Globe. I'm the bailiff. I'm just filling in. It's Big
Yeah, no
Globe
problem.
is the appellant.
I didn't want to dive right in there and be rude to Your Honor because I respect Your Honor and Your Honor is
Thank you
very
so much.
honorable.
Mhm.
What did you want to hear, Your Honor?
I want to just tell me, why is it that I should reconsider this verdict from below in which I found against you, or
I see.
they found against you?
Yeah, I don't think you found anything yet.
No, I
Your
didn't
Honor,
find
because
anything. That's right. I'm
You are very
unmarked,
balanced and
unblemished.
fair. You are unglobed in your decision making until all the facts have been laid out. And I say one of the facts that should be considered, and I think it's the real reason why we're here, is that justice is blind, and they're blindly holding a scale. So I don't feel like the balance has been set in a way where you don't want to lay out a precedent where anybody who makes the smallest of mistakes can be ruined. So I think that's what we're really here about is like, does someone want to ruin us, or they actually do care about globes in a way that makes them, they say globes are us, but I don't know what they mean by that exactly if they want to bring this case.
Mhm.
So to clarify, you're arguing that the scales of equity, the balance of justice, is perched upon the fact that it would be unfair, having made a tiny mistake, to destroy Big Globe.
I have to say that the eloquence with which Your Honor just regurgitated back to me my words and elevated them, I would say, to a higher understanding was amazing, and I think you captured it well, Your Honor. Thank you.
I am, let the record reflect that I am winking at Counselor. Thank you so much. Okay.
Appreciate that. I'm going to receive that wink in the most honorable way. Thank you.
And now let's hear from the little guy, little tiny Globes are us.
Oh,
I
wait.
object, Your Honor. That's presidential. That's wrong.
Let me hear from Globes are us of an indeterminate size
That's beautiful.
bedroom.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I just wanted to say that I'm so grateful that the appellant, as we known heretofore,
Not like
brought
a
up
slight when you say it, but okay.
that justice is blind, because you know what else is blind? The children
Oh.
waiting that were waiting for those snow globes. And when the wrong size was delivered, you know who's going to notice? People who can only feel things.
Duh.
You can't see them, right? So it was of the utmost importance that the snow globes be the right size, the size that we ordered, the size that these young people were so looking forward to. And then to get the wrong size, to not have them available to give to these people, and then be told back and forth, we'll give them to you, won't give them to you, it's this much money, it's more money. It was just, I hate to say it, but it was big business doing big business.
Counselor, I must ask you, I'm looking at the record from below the transcript, and I'm not seeing anything on evidence that shows that there were blind children to be receiving these.
It's one of those things that was just known.
Okay.
Inferred, right.
As far as damages go, it was more kind of like an emotional, so we didn't want to bring it up, but now that we're here, in your presence, I figured might as well just throw it out there, in case
Sure. That's legal procedure for sure. Yes.
I just figured that's how the law worked.
There is an inferred blind children rule in the principles of justice and adjudication.
Yeah,
for
and when
sure.
it comes to
Yeah.
snow globes, it's just it's how the business works, and not everyone may know that, but it is.
Okay. Do you have any rebuttal for that?
I absolutely do, Your Honor, and that was just amazing of you to know that. It's almost as if you have some sort of sense. It can tap right into people's emotions and whatnot. The only rebuttal I would say, Your Honor, is that I don't know if the opposing counsel here, I don't know, has ever encountered children. Knows what children are about, have been around them in any way, because quite bluntly, Your Honor, kids don't care. They don't care about the size of those. We've tested that over the years. That's why they call us Big Globe and not Globes Are Us, which sounds like a lie. I keep trying to hammer that home because kids really don't. If you put anything with water in their hands and they won't get wet about it, that's a miracle to them. It's like a magic trick all over again, Your Honor. So they're trying to play with emotions here, which are unnecessary. I mean, and order is an order. It's actually, we've been doing this for 30 years. It's the first time someone's ever called us on it. So to us, it's not even a mistake. Really, it's just like the way we go about our day.
Okay. And anything in response to that, Globes Are Us?
Well, I'm so glad that he brought up hammers because I didn't want to bring this up before, but some of the globes weren't even globes. We got a box of just random shit, and some of them said, from the desk of John Leibowitz, and I don't even know who that is, but I'm sure he's looking for his tools. So I just want to know how they're running things over there.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm John Leibowitz. I think you have something in mind. Oh, here it is. Great. Thanks. You guys just enjoy.
Thank you for grabbing that, John. I appreciate it.
So frankly, I don't think we need to pay for their disorganization in that so-called organization. I rest my case.
I'm sorry, Leibowitz is not spelled correctly, Your Honor.
Okay. I will put that on the record
as well. I'd like to line up. Thank you.
I'm afraid that you cannot at the appeals level enter in a new cause of action. But moving aside from that,
he can sit by us.
I would like to just take a moment to pontificate. I would like to say that both the attorneys here have wrongly focused on the relative trauma of these globe errors on the intended recipients, which is wholly irrelevant and not at all germane to the assessment of damages for a breach of contract arising between two corporations. Neither of you are these orphans or purported orphans who are purported.
I never said that they didn't have parents.
Blind orphans, Your Honor.
Okay, right. You're making that would, in this scenario, that would make that worse for you, not better. But that's fine. They can be blind if you like.
I just want to be accurate, Your Honor. I'm just showing an honesty here that
commitment to fairness.
They are blind. They are blind.
Okay. Back to these children who are not at all parties to this case. Their relative trauma not at all germane to the assessment of damages here. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I was complimented more by Big Globe. And they also sent me a lovely fruit basket off the record. So thank you.
Not that I researched your favorite fruits or anything, but yeah.
The honeydew was a nice touch. So I will say this, having really fully gone over the records, I don't see any problem in just limiting the scope of damages to the cost of the breach. And that's it.
That sounds perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
just the benefit of the bargain. That's right.
It's your lovely brain.
Mm-hmm.
And are we starving blind children out in the hallway get nothing?
You can have some of my fruit basket. I do not like cantaloupe, and you may have that. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that's okay.
There you are. Lady Justice yet again tips the scales in favor of equity. Mm-hmm.
And you heard it here, folks, on Comedy Court. The case of the wrong snow globes decided in favor of Big Globe. Oh, we have the lawyers for Big Globe just on their way out. Counselor,
Yes,
you
yes.
just won. Do you have any comments, the thoughts about the ruling in this case?
Well, we appreciate the ruling. I mean, Your Honor is obviously a genius. Just a testament to the court there. But I do want to say, and you're the first to hear it, that we will be bringing forth a suit to put Globes R Us out of business because we just feel like it's false advertisement. They don't believe
Wow,
it.
well, you heard it here first, folks. That is breaking news here on Comedy Code. Oh, I need to run and get the counselor for Globes R Us. Excuse me, a counselor. You just got a sweeping ruling against you, absolutely devastating. How is this going to affect you? And more importantly, how is it going to affect the blind orphans?
Well, frankly, I don't even know what went on back there. I don't know how we got here or how I'm gonna get back to my car right now. I worry for the children. I have heard some rumblings that maybe they're gonna bring a suit against us, which, as their biggest client and the only people that really buy their big ass globes, seems odd to me because we're the ones patroning them. But frankly, I say bring it on. I say bring it on, and next time our fruits are going to be bigger than their dumbass globes. That's all the time I have. Bye.
Oh, Your Honor. Oh, it looks like the judge is here. We're going to get unprecedented access here on Comedy Court. Your Honor. Can you tell me a little bit about your ruling and why you ended up going in favor of Big Globes instead of Globes R Us in this case?
Well, you see, what it really comes down to is just how darn hard it is to find a globe of a certain size. And I would say, let's be real, it's not hard at all. There are globes of every make, model, and relative circumference available all over the world. So the fungibility is high.
Well, that is a lot of fun, Jabul information from Your Honor. Thank you so much for this unprecedented access here on Comedy Court. It seems, folks, that the test really here was about how much fun and how much fungibility we have with globes. Well, thank you very much, Your Honor. This has been Comedy Court. When we come back, improvisation. Mom, Dad, can you come in my room and help and talk to me? I obviously I can't walk out there because I'm blind.
No.
You could if you
Sorry.
want to, but it's fine. We'll come in.
I've been spending the last hour and a half feeling the outside of this round object, and I have to tell you, I'm completely mystified as to what's inside. I appreciate this birthday/Christmas present, but I just don't know what it is.
I feel like you could know what it is if you really wanted to.
I mean, it feels like there's something inside. I shake it, and it feels like maybe there's water or something inside, but I really don't get the point.
Gosh, the clues keep coming in. You know it's water. You know what water sounds like. You just said there's water inside. Accept that reality. Add to it.
Oh, Dad, you're always criticizing me. I'm your blind son, and you're just always telling me I'm supposed to know things I don't know. God.
You know what, Tim? You throw that blind card at me one more damn time, and I'm going to put you across my knee, and I'm going to show you just how blind these swings can go on your butt.
Oh, Dad, come on.
Welcome to Globe Therapy Associates. I am a specialist certified MD, QT, MYI, FYI, CQ, and I'm here to help you learn to recognize the size and shape and relative circumference of various types of snow globes. Are you ready to commit to that work?
I mean, I think so.
That's not the can-do attitude that we have here at Globular Therapy. Certified, all rights reserved, trademarked, copyright, not ever going into the public domain. Okay, now tell me, young man, what is it that is keeping you from recognizing a smooth round shape in your palm for what it is?
I mean,
Is it a lack of sophistication? Do you need exposure therapy?
I'm at a,
Oh,
my
he's
dad is
hopeless.
mean to me.
I'm afraid this one is not one I can help. Even us wonder wizards of the globular therapy world cannot help those who do not help themselves.
I mean, I feel like, isn't there such a thing as mandated reporting? I mean, my dad's been whooping my ass since I was 3. Is that something that maybe you would maybe help out with? My parents left me here 3 hours ago. I've had nothing but 3 cashews to eat all day. I mean, I
Have a jelly bean. Have a jelly bean. There's
you.
2 issues going on here. One of which is very serious and which will require reporting. The other is your lack of will to understand the heft and weight and substance of a circular object filled with either snow or approximated sand and water.
Hi, thank you for calling mandated reporting. So I just need to know, is the butt whipping, how fungible is it? Would you say,
I think there's probably a robust market in people willing to whip the butt of a I'm gonna say young man who refuses to acknowledge snow globe sizes, but at the same time, I do feel it's not as fungible as it could be because it's also illegal. So
okay. And the damages incurred are just strictly
lost cattle. Well, hey there, neighbor. I notice you've got a whole head of cattle behind you. I couldn't help but notice that, geez, you got a nice looking, do they call them flock? Whatever they call them, of cows.
It's a herd.
Oh, it's a herd. I heard that. Thank you so much. I happen to be an entrepreneur in the area. I happen to own, as far as the eye can see, right straight into the other valley over there. I'm your nearest neighbor at about 50 miles or so. So I'm just saying, do you have any need to graze those cattle?
Well, of course I do. And you said as far as the eye can see, well, the eye can still see in my desolate dry land too.
Yeah,
Not
it
like
is a sad piece of property.
Your lush looking land that's allowed to water when I ain't.
And do you see how I've helpfully erected fences, which will keep the cattle from straying off of my giant amount of land onto other giant parcels of land that are not my own?
Look, I don't need my nose rubbed in the fact that I don't know how fences work, all right?
You sure are a crazy one to set up a cattle ranching farm, having clearly no idea how to do such a thing as raise cattle, but I'm here to help.
My father always said, if you want to do something, you got to challenge yourself to figure it out. So I've been figuring it out for the last 30 years or so, and it's worked out well. It's something I do.
Speaking of 30 years, that's about how long I'm willing to rent you my giant, gorgeous, luscious piece of land right here in central Austin, immediately located adjacent to the Capitol, which surely will never need to be developed into anything else. And so I will give you not only the quiet enjoyment right to this piece of land, but I will also pay you should I happen to have to sell it to, say, a giant hotel or chain or McDonald's or Buc-ee's. Mm-hmm.
Seeing as I probably won't be here in 30 years, I think this is the sweetest deal ever.
Sucker. I mean, yeah, great doing business with you.
Yeah, great doing business, in quotes, with you.
With Moo.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know you was an artist.
That's right. I am a highfalutin city type who only is visiting for the weekend. In fact, I don't even have an accent at all.
You lost Texas. Deal's off.
Hi, this is the 1-800 number for mandated reporting of bad business deals. What seems to be the trouble?
Yeah, well, I was trying to build a Buc-ee's on a big ass piece of land, and there's a bunch of cattle there, and the guy's just not moving. He says he's not even going to be here for 30 years, and yet he's really putting it to the test.
Well, that sounds like something the government should take action about.
Well, that's why I called you.
Well, that's why we have
Government
mandated reporting for bad
reporter.
business deals.
So how do we get him off the land?
Well, I think that somebody needs a good talking to, and perhaps some exposure therapy.
And maybe a whooping or two.
Possibly.
So can I get you in there?
Sure. Why don't we just I'm just gonna truck on down to that land and see what's going on there.
What are you doing here on my giant voluminous piece of property?
I'm back, and I brought this guy who's
I'm with the
mandated
government.
reporter.
I'm here with the government. I'm the Department of Mandated Reporting of Bad Business Deals. I understand there's been a bad business deal going down that prevented a Buc-ee's from being built here.
Are you trying to tread on me?
Well, that's what the government does. Is we do the treading, we do the retreading, we do the disrupting, we do the pretty much, if there's something you don't like and you want it to change, that's what we're here for. That's what the government does.
You aren't with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms now, are you? No. Okay.
No. But my cousin works for the Division of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Mandated Reporting Department.
And I'll call him if I have to. I'll bring him down here too. I don't give one F.
Well, I happen to
ATF,
have...
I just happened to be in the area and picked it up on the radio.
Thank God.
Well, that's it. We're gonna have to bunker in. Come on, Clem. We're going down. We're going down into the survivalist bunker.
Bunkering? I was 30 seconds in and there's already bunkering? I ain't even wearing my vest.
I got to tell you something, Fred. Every time we at the Department of Mandated Reporting, we have many subdivisions, mandated reporting. People just don't seem to understand what our role is.
Yeah.
We're just the people report to us, and then we.
I am a civil servant.
That's right.
And all I do is hear complaints, you can report something other than complaints. You can just report maybe you had a good day.
That's true.
Reports that.
That's true.
I'd like to report something. There
Hello.
There are
mandated random reporting. What's your issue?
The land that I want to build my Buc-ee's on, where the landowner is bunkered and hunkered down, there are 15 cows in that bunker. And I want
my
them,
dead body, are you getting them back?
I want them out because I want to make that bunker into a Bunkies.
Gosh, this is all so confusing to me. Let me hang on. Let me pass you on to
hello, is this the Department of Mandated Reporting of Random? What is it? What was the department? I forgot the
random issues.
Random issues. Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to find out. Is there a number for mandated reporting of good things? Because I just wanted to say it's an exceptionally nice sunny day here, and I feel like there's somebody I need to report that to in the government. Is this the right department?
Gosh, it's not. But I, as just a human being, just a person to person, I love that kind of shit.
Okay, well, let me just I'll tell you a little bit about the nice day I'm having. Oh, no, it is. I love that kind of shit too. I'm looking out my window right now, and there are mangoes on the mango trees, and apparently a murder of crows landing in the trees and picking up.
Somebody talking about having a good day. I'm sorry, I was from the NSA. I just happened to be listening in.
Yeah, this guy's having an incredible day.
I love incredible days, man. Go on,
man. This is.
Oh, well, I was just, I was just outside and catching some sun, and, I got a ton of money in my bank account, and,
yeah, you do.
My car's working. Oh yeah, that's right. You've known NSA. Yeah. Don't pay any attention to that $11,000 deposit of cryptocurrency. That's absolutely 100% legitimate.
No, I was going to pay attention to you said that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I brought it up. It's a little bit of compensation for, let's just say, I did some deals in the Cayman Islands, and they didn't want to pay me in gift cards. So
you know what? The Caymans is not as nice as it is right here outside. So why don't you go on with your good day?
Yeah, we're getting a little dark now.
Yeah. Other cow. I noticed you're on that piece of property that's fenced in. Can I tell you, the grass is a lot greener here on the other side. Come on out.
Moo.
Thank you. I'm cow Satan in this scenario.
Don't listen to cow Satan.
Grass is a lot greener.
grass is greener over there.
Grass is greener over on this other side.
Don't fall for it. You know, I've been over here, I don't know how long, and every day I keep thinking tomorrow it'll get greener. But it's the same green.
Same. It's so not, we're just licking up dirt here on this side of the fence.
Something to ruminate on.
We're being good.
That's weird because on this side of the fence, there's mango trees.
Mhm.
They're unheard of in this part of Texas.
Do we even like mangoes?
Everybody likes mangoes.
I'd like to try one before I die.
Oh, cows. Oh, cows. You're not going to get to try any mangoes.
No, it's just grass for us. Never quite green enough grass.
Well, Satan seems to be offering something really awesome.
Yes. Why don't we head over?
Uh-oh. These cattle are trespassing. I will, by the right of Texas adverse possession or something like that, I will steal them, take them, and then make them into steak. That's the end of that.
Oh, we made a terrible mistake.
That was a mistake.
I think
That was
the
a
end
bad
of all of us,
choice.
cows. All cattle everywhere ends the same.
Oh, that was.
Dang
I knew we should have stayed
it.
on the other side of the fence.
A mistake.
Moo.
Dad,
Boo.
Dad,
Ooh.
Dad. I've been thinking a lot about the globe therapy and the whooping and me constantly sort of complaining about being blind and whatnot. I just want to say something. You were right, Dad.
Really? Because
Yeah.
I had a change of heart, man. I thought about the whipping that I didn't give you. I was just thinking about giving you.
Uh-huh.
I thought to myself, break the cycle.
Uh-huh.
There are better ways to people learning than through violence or the threat of violence.
Yeah, I was kind of confused, Dad, too, because I did try to tell them in the therapy about the whoopings, and I guess I didn't know the difference because not having ever seen a whooping, I just thought talking about a whooping was the
I
same
told you
thing.
to start using those little fingertips, and you can feel out the belt, and you would know the difference between that and a hug.
I do understand now.
And there you have it. Globular Therapy Associates has delivered yet another revolutionary breakthrough. You're welcome.
And the moral of the story is
Always.
look
For
Greener.
Pastures.
That was fun. Thank you, guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Who's having a steak after this, huh? Am I the
I
I'm
know I am.
starving.
I know I am.
At least the burger. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I am definitely going over to Whataburger to celebrate Texas style, the killing of cattle.
What was the name of I didn't know what the restaurant was. What was that?
Oh, Buc-ee's is a gigantic gas station. It's a mega gas station. Bunkies, by the way, is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
I'm glad that's what Buc-ee's is because I've never been to one, but I have seen it somewhere and I assumed it was like a mini mart, but like a big one.
Mega mini.
Like a
They
mega-
have a
mega
lot
mini
of stuff, right? They have
Yeah.
you can buy all sorts of stuff.
And terrible politics because this is Texas. So yeah, but that's nice.
The
This
Buc-ee's
episode
is
is
political?
Everything's
It's Texas. It's Texas.
Everything's political now. Well, this show's been brought to you by Buc-ee's, which in no way paid any compensation for the show at all. Or Bunkies, either one. All right, folks. Well, before we sign off and let everyone go, I just want to give my guests a chance for some shameless self-promotion. I'll start with you, Dwayne. Is there anything you'd like to tell us about? Where can people find you on the internet, the socials, and maybe send you some money one way or another?
Yeah, first of all, don't look for me. But if you have to, you can find me on Instagram at DeClercq01. As far as things I want to promote, nothing's going on right now. It's pretty slow in the business, but I am still teaching sketch comedy level 2 at the Pack Theater. You can find that at the Pack Theater's website under classes.
And I can vouch for Dwayne as a great teacher. I did take sketch from Dwayne, and I really enjoyed it. He's a great teacher, really positive and supportive, encouraging, and gives you a lot of chances to grow. And it's a great class. Highly recommend it. And you can take the class from anywhere in the world. It is offered online.
I have taught it to people all over the world. And thank you for saying that, Billy. You were not paid to say that.
I was not paid to say that. I did pay money to say that, which is because
for the class, yes. But
yeah, I did pay money for the class. Kelly, where can people find you on the socials, the internet, elsewhere?
You know, the usual suspects: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok until it gets banned at Kelly Shea, KELLISHEA. Aside from that, you could probably find me at my house with my child because it's really hard to leave with a baby.
It is. Are we doing parachute time yet, or it's still too young for parachute?
I don't even
time
know what
in
that
June?
is. Is that thing?
Oh my
I should
God!
know?
Well, you got some fun in store for you.
Every
Parachute time
day.
is awesome.
Every
Lots of
day
fun
with
coming.
kids, they're like tummy time and sleep training. It's like, God, just leave me
I know.
alone.
I know. My parents gave me a lighter and a pack of cigarettes and told me to figure it out.
And look at you now, Billy. You're a
Still
lawyer.
figuring it
Smoke
out to
up,
this day.
kids.
I'm just kidding. My dad does occasionally listen to this podcast. Just giving you shit, Dad. Okay.
You're a great dad.
Andy, where can people find you?
I am mostly invisible. I'm mostly off the grid. I am in a couple of improv teams around town. I'm on a team called the Chaperones, made up of older improvisers. And every fourth Friday at 8:00, you can find us at the Clubhouse.
The Clubhouse is in Hollywood area.
Yep.
Around Vermont and Sunset.
Yep. And if you're around there on a Wednesday night, you can find me on a different team called German Supermarket with We Improv. And
awesome.
Where you find me.
All right, thanks, Andy. Kristen.
If you happen to be in the Austin area, first of all, I apologize for all the Texas slurring that I have done in this episode. What I will say right now is that I love it here. Thank you so much, adopted state. If you're in
Did
the
they make you say
area-
that, Kristen?
No, I just have fear for my life. And you're interested in taking improv, I teach a couple levels of Hideout. Theater is Hideout, but then British spelling of theater, THEATRE. Theater. And I teach adults there. I teach kids at Coletown through their excused absence program. And I teach neurodivergent teens through Hideout's Building Connections program. And I teach storytelling at Merlin Works.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I want to thank you all for being on the show today. This was a ton of fun. Great guests. And thank you so much. Let's say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.